In Andy Ngo news, Andy Ngo has been awarded $300,000 after defendants that he sued disregarded lawsuits regarding a Portland protest assault. So Andy Ngo, as I'm sure many of you are aware, is a somewhat controversial reporter who goes around and he reports on things and sometimes is assaulted and beaten up, and he'd like to sue. And so he has sued at least one group of people who then decided not to show up to the lawsuit. So he wins his default judgment. So let's learn a little bit more about what happened in this case. Let's get started with this. In a recent ruling, 3 individuals who failed to present a defense in court against a lawsuit accusing them of assaulting the conservative writer Andy Ngo during a 2019 protest in Portland have been ordered to collectively pay Ngo a sum of $300,000 for the assault. The defendants in the case, who Ngo claims are members of Antifa, are Catherine Belay, Madison Allen, and Joseph Evans, or at least he was Joseph Evans at the time the lawsuit started. He has since changed his name. His name is now Sandwich Overkill Shot Deputy. Sandwich Overkill Shot Deputy. That's his name now. Okay. Despite a last-minute effort by an attorney representing Joseph Evans, who now legally goes by the name of Sandwich Overkill Shot Deputy, to contest the default judgment, the judge declined the appeal, citing the lawsuit's 3-year history. So yeah, it's like you have chosen not to participate in this thing for 3 years, and after a while, the judge is going to give up, right? They're going to avoid a default judgment. It's not one of their favorite things to do, and courts will tend to go out of their way. They'll tend to bend the rules a little bit, even, to prevent default judgments. So it's a little bit unusual. In fact, it's extremely unusual to get a default judgment for, minor technical violations, or even like the first couple times you're in abeyance of the rules. But after a while, the judge is going to give up. And so the judge gave up, and the guy's like, wait, no, I'm ready to participate now. And he's like, well, Mr. Sandwich, if that is your name, which apparently it is. Okay, Mr. Sandwich, no, you haven't participated this long, so you don't get to participate now. We gave you every opportunity. That's over now. So how about you just pay? Born in 1986, Andy Ngo is 37 years old. He's an American journalist aligned with right-wing perspectives, recognized for his roles as an author, social media influencer, and coverage involving documentation of various demonstrations. He holds a position of editor-at-large at the Post-Millennial, a conservative news platform in Canada. His writing contributions have encompassed columns featured in the New York Post and Wall Street Journal, among other independent reporting, so he definitely gets around. The 3 individuals who are involved in this are Catherine Belay, Madison Allen, and Joseph Evans, also now known as Sandwich Shot Deputy. The judge asked damages to be equally split among the 3 non-participating damages, so they are severally liable. The court found that Shot Deputy was among the initial aggressors who struck Ngo during the Portland protest. Madison Allen was implicated by hitting Ngo on the head with a sign, while Catherine Belay was accused of tossing a milkshake at him. Your milkshake may bring all the boys to the yard, but you can't throw it at them during a protest. You can't do that. Also, by milkshake, what exactly do we mean? Because some of these milkshakes were actually like concrete and stuff. So unclear what we mean exactly by milkshake, because some of the things that were thrown were not exactly what you consider to be a typical milkshake. The actual trial lasted all of about an hour because, as I mentioned, they didn't show up to participate in the case. So it was pretty easy because, they didn't show up. Ngo filed a lawsuit in 2020, and this is therefore turned into a 3-year-long legal case, which is probably part of the reason the judge finally gave up hope. Via a remote video statement, Ngo conveyed that those who wish to harm me, they always refer to it as milkshake incident, to mock my injuries and celebrate it. The near-death experience, to continually be a joke to be violent extremists, is distressing and scary. Yeah, he definitely has been a victim of much violence, to be sure. During an earlier trial, activists John Hacker and Elizabeth Reichter were found not guilty of causing harm to Ngo for being unmasked in assault, which, fine. Whether or not they're criminally guilty and whether or not they're civilly liable, as always, 2 different issues. So are they criminally responsible? I don't know, but there seems to be some civil responsibility. In striking contrast to the weeks-long trial held earlier in June, the brief hearing in August presented a markedly different scene. The subsequent hearing, presided over by the judge, the certainty of the verdict was unquestionable because, as I mentioned, they didn't show up. So if you don't show up, you're going to lose. That's what default judgment is for. Uh-huh. Thus, that brings us to the case of three people pictured here: Madison Allen, Catherine Belai, and Sandwich Overkill Shot Deputy, all of whom look like upstanding members of society. Who would have ever thought that any of these people could be involved in anything, especially Shot Deputy over here on the right with the blue eyeshadow and blue lip and the piercing through the nose and the bridge of the nose so these people owe Andy Ngo some money, so better have my money when I come to collect, I guess, as Andy Ngo gets ready to try to figure out how to get this money from these three people who I assume have no money, but we'll try. At least for the moment, that brings us to the end of discussion of this story.